Welcome to Starwatch Now, your front row seat to all the hottest gossip, drama, and breaking news from the world of entertainment. If it's trending, shocking, or star-studded, we're covering it. Stay tuned. You won't want to miss what's coming next. What if the fiercest battle of the decade isn't fought on a stage or a film set, but online? Tonight, the name on everyone's lips is Wang Yibo, a man admired for his calm strength. Now standing at the center of a digital storm, an invisible army, calling itself the Blackwater Legion, has declared war. And for the first time, undercover reporters have revealed how this shadowy force operates, and why it targeted him. It began not with explosions or shouting, but with silence, the kind that seeps in unnoticed until it fills every corner. At first, it was only a few scattered comments on social media. Whispers passed between online accounts that claimed to know the truth. He's changed, some wrote. He's not the same anymore. These words seemed harmless, almost casual. Yet they carried a poison that would spread across the digital world within days. What most people didn't see was the architecture behind those whispers. A system carefully constructed, waiting for the right signal to attack. Hidden chat rooms operated like underground command centers, their members using coded language, encrypted messages, and schedules that resembled military plans. They weren't fans expressing opinions. They were operatives in an invisible war. Each post, each repost, was not an accident of anger but a calculated move, orchestrated to erode one man's reputation piece by piece. Wong Eba became the target not because of something he had done, but because he symbolized what could not be controlled: discipline, authenticity, and the refusal to play by the rules of corruption. For those who traded in gossip and chaos, his silence was dangerous. They could not manipulate him, so they tried to destroy him. The first strike came in the form of carefully planted stories. A headline suggesting arrogance, a rumor about betrayal, a doctored image implying scandal. Small lies, repeated enough, became their chosen weapon. As the attacks multiplied, something extraordinary happened. Instead of collapsing under the weight of slander, Eba's quietness turned into strength. While the invisible army screamed, he simply kept working, performing, creating, racing, existing beyond the noise. And it was in that quiet endurance that people began to see the truth. The more they tried to drag him down, the more clearly his integrity shone through. Behind the screens, the Blackwater Legion believed they could shape reality with deception. Yet, what they truly revealed was their own emptiness. A network of shadows threatened by a man who did not need to shout to be heard. The first strike had been launched, but it failed to wound its target. Instead, it exposed the sickness of a system terrified of honesty. The machinery behind the Blackwater industry was not chaos. It was precision disguised as madness. Beneath the surface of hashtags and gossip headlines lay an intricate hierarchy built on greed and fear. At its top were silent financiers, people who never appeared in public yet controlled the tempo of entire storms. They funded the creation of rumors as if investing in a new product line, calculating returns in the form of trending topics and public outrage. Below them worked professional writers who had long forgotten what truth felt like. Their task was not to report but to engineer emotion, to twist words until fiction felt familiar and lies became irresistible. They understood how the human heart could be provoked with a single insinuation. And then there were the soldiers, the faceless army of users who filled the comment sections and timelines with noise. Many were not even aware of the larger plan. Some were drawn by small payments, others by the illusion of belonging to something powerful. They became instruments, each keystroke another weapon in a war they did not understand. Their targets were chosen, their outrage rehearsed, their victories hollow. The entire operation ran like a corporation with invisible departments: strategy, content, distribution, crisis control. Except this business did not sell products. It sold humiliation, distraction, and despair. What made it terrifying was not only its scale but its cold efficiency. It thrived on apathy, feeding on the idea that lies were harmless entertainment. Yet, beneath that facade was a system that stripped away the humanity of both its victims and its participants. It was a factory of distortion, turning reputation into currency, and truth into a casualty. They chose Wang Yibo because he represented everything their world could not tolerate. Discipline without arrogance, success without scandal, fame without corruption. In an industry often defined by noise and self-promotion, his silence was unsettling. He did not chase attention. Attention followed him. To those who built their influence on manipulation and deceit, a man who refused to play their game was a threat. They could not control him, so they decided to break him. The attacks began like small cracks in a mirror, barely visible, almost harmless. But with every false headline and twisted rumor, the reflection they created grew more distorted. They called him cold, detached, ungrateful. They questioned his achievements, his character, even his humanity. Yet the more they tried to reduce him to a caricature, the more people saw his depth. Beneath the calm exterior was a relentless spirit, a young man who had built every step of his career through work that spoke louder than words. What they failed to understand was that Wang Yibo's strength did not come from defense but from purpose. He never argued with lies because he had no need to. His truth was visible in every performance, every race, every quiet act of persistence. His resilience was not loud, but it was unyielding. While they calculated damage, he simply kept creating. And in doing so, he exposed their futility. You cannot dismantle someone who does not rely on your validation. You cannot silence a man whose power lies in consistency, not applause. The more they tried to break him, the more he reminded the world that integrity, once rooted deeply, cannot be touched by the storms above. When the reporters finally stepped into the digital underworld they had only heard whispers about, what they discovered was not chaos but choreography. It was a secret theater of manipulation, where every movement was rehearsed, every attack premeditated. Inside these hidden groups, commands were issued like military orders. Members received daily scripts on whom to target, what phrases to use, and when to launch coordinated waves of comments. Some were even trained to evade detection, altering spellings, planting coded emojis, and timing posts to trick the platform's algorithms. It was not merely a group of trolls. It was a living organism that fed on outrage and attention. Yet what startled the investigators most was the disconnection between those who led and those who followed. Many of the so-called commanders were middle-aged men with no personal link to the entertainment industry. They had never met the artists they defamed, nor cared about the fans they manipulated. For them, these campaigns were business transactions, a cruel but profitable cycle where destruction equaled revenue. The suffering of a public figure was simply data in a spreadsheet. Among the chaos of chat logs and coded conversations, the journalists saw something deeper, a portrait of society's vulnerability. The lines between truth and illusion had blurred so completely that people no longer questioned the information fed to them. In exposing the network, the reporters did more than uncover a scandal. They revealed a reflection of how easily the human need for belonging could be weaponized. The revelation was not just about the cruelty of the perpetrators, but about the fragility of a world that confuses noise with truth and entertainment with reality. Silence is often mistaken for weakness, yet in Wang Yibo's case, it became the sharpest form of strength. When the storm of falsehood began to rage, he chose not to defend himself with anger or public confrontation. He simply continued his work, filming, performing, racing, allowing his craft to speak louder than the noise. To outsiders, this restraint seemed effortless, but in truth it carried a heavy cost. The decision not to respond meant carrying the weight of misunderstanding, watching rumors multiply, and enduring the quiet ache of seeing his name twisted into something unrecognizable. It takes extraordinary courage to remain still when the world demands a reaction. Silence became both his shield and his burden. It protected his dignity, yet it demanded discipline beyond ordinary endurance. Every unspoken word was a choice to trust time and truth rather than the fleeting approval of an audience. While others screamed for explanations, Wang Yibo stayed grounded in purpose, knowing that explanation is powerless in the face of malice. What endures is not defense, but consistency. And so he continued, every performance polished, every gesture deliberate, every act a quiet declaration that he would not be broken by noise. The cost of such silence is invisible. Sleepless nights, strained faith, the loneliness of standing firm in a world addicted to reaction. But the reward, though slow, is lasting. Over time, the silence that once seemed empty began to echo with meaning. It reminded people that truth does not need to shout. It simply survives. Wong Yibo's stillness became a mirror, reflecting the difference between noise and depth, between fame built on spectacle and legacy built on integrity. Beyond the celebrity spotlight, this investigation has forced society to confront a larger question. How easily are we manipulated by the things we read online? University lecturers now use the black water case in digital ethics classes. Tech platforms are revising algorithms to detect mass-coordinated posts. Ordinary users are learning to check sources before reacting. Because in the end, this story isn't just about one artist. It's about every person who has ever been judged by a lie. Despite the ugliness exposed, something beautiful has emerged. Unity. Thousands of fans from different countries, languages, and cultures began sharing one simple hashtag, #StandWithEba. Not to attack others, but to spread calmness, positivity, and factual updates. It transformed what began as a smear campaign into a global lesson in empathy. The commander of the Blackwater Army might have fired the first shot, but compassion, truth, and collective awareness have already begun to win the war. Maybe that's what makes Wang Yibo extraordinary. He doesn't retaliate, he rebuilds. He doesn't shout, he proves. His victory isn't the applause after a race or the lights on a red carpet. It's the quiet persistence of someone who refuses to let darkness dictate his story. And for audiences watching around the world, his journey reminds us, in a world where noise sells, authenticity still matters. If the story moved you, remember, your single act of awareness can make a difference. Report misinformation when you see it. Support kindness over conflict. Celebrate the people who rise above hate. Thank you for watching and for standing with truth. If you'd like more stories that reveal courage behind the headlines, subscribe to the Starwatch Now channel, leave a comment, and share your thoughts below. Your voice helps light the way for a cleaner, kinder digital world. Until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and keep believing in truth.